live from the Dunbar kitchen. It's a science moment. I am Maggie Dunbar, and this is my mother, Mrs. Dunbar.
Hello, boys and girls. Welcome back to our house once again for another science moment. The last time we were here, we talked about the brain and the skull, how the skull protects the brain, and how wearing your bicycle helmet keeps your skull and your brain safe and uncracked. No yoking. Anyway, today we're going to be talking about, would you like to show us? Today we'll be talking about the digestive system. Now the digestive system, as you may or may not remember, begins with our teeth, our incisors and our molars, goes down our, what's this called?
Esophagus.
Down into our
stomach.
Excellent. After the stomach comes the
Small intestine.
Followed by the
Large intestine.
And then
Out.
Very gently put, Maggie. And that would be also known as the, very nicely done, it's upside down, excretory system. So, let's start our experiment, and I will guarantee you that tonight our experiment will be messy. So she is already wearing her apron. I'm going to get on my apron because after all, if you don't get messy and make mistakes, you won't learn anything. Tonight, we will learn lots. Now, remember, boys and girls, the first thing in the digestive system that we talked about was saliva and teeth, not necessarily in that order. Now, you may recall when we took a simple soda cracker and took a bite, take a little bite, and held it in our mouths, don't swallow it, and we could feel the cracker breaking down, the starches breaking apart, getting ready, the saliva helping the cracker get ready for the first part of its journey into the digestive system. Swallow it now. Then we talked about incisors and molars. Now here's a quick experiment to help you understand the difference. We have our trusty pig cutting board made by Mrs. Dunbar's father when he was in high school. Incisors, as we talked about in school, are sharp. These are your front teeth right here. See? They're sharp. Incisors help us bite into things. So, I'll take a bite of my apple. Pretty simple. Can I digest this huge piece?
It's a little big.
Little difficult. So, if I kept trying to chew with my incisors, boy, these pieces are still awfully big, aren't they, Maggie?
Yeah.
I don't think I'd want to digest either. That's why we have another kind of tooth. Do you know what they're called?
Incisors.
That's what we just talked about. The other ones are in the back, and they're called molars.
Molars.
And they have a lot more area than an incisor, which is very sharp. The molars are the teeth in the back, and they're big, and they're ready to smush down your food like this. And look at this apple smushing. Look at this. Oh my goodness. I think I'm about ready to digest this. It's almost applesauce the way it's squishing. That's why you have incisors in the front, so you can take bites, and molars in the back, so they can mash the food to get the food ready for digestion. Make sense to you?
Oh, yes.
Excellent. Always have to clean up your mess. Science, boys and girls.
Molars.
Next, we need to talk about what happens to the food after we swallow it. It goes down the esophagus into our
stomach.
Here's the next experiment. This is my stomach.
That's your stomach.
Not really. This is part of my blender. But for tonight's experiment, we're going to pretend that this is a stomach. Okay? Now let's see. Tonight for dinner, I had delicious spaghetti with marinara sauce. I had very healthy broccoli, a vegetable from the food groups. That's very good for you. So I ate my broccoli. I love broccoli.
Oh, everyone does.
And I ate my spaghetti.
A little cold now.
That's okay. And then, of course, I have a sweet tooth. I love sweet things. So I had to have my ice cream. Ooh, with chocolate syrup.
Who wouldn't like that?
I love that for dessert. Now after we read a story to Maggie and William and they go to bed, I always have to have my cup of tea. So of course I also had a cup of tea in my stomach tonight. I think I might have a tummy ache.
Might.
I seem to remember I also took a little bit of this pink stuff. Your families may give it to you if you have an upset tummy. I think just a little bit will do. Ah. So I have all these things in my stomach. Maggie, what's my stomach going to do with all of this food?
Well, your stomach like churns it to break it down to make it.
Oh, I see. So we need to see what happens when the stomach churns the food. Plug that in. My stomach needs to have an engine. My stomach is going to churn the food so it can break it down for the rest of the digestive system to do its job.
That is nasty.
No, it's not nasty. It doesn't look good now. It doesn't look as pretty as it did on the plate. But it still has all the vitamins and minerals that I need to be healthy. Can you unplug that for me? Just put it in the back counter.
Sure.
Now, let's talk about where this food goes after it leaves my stomach. It's going to go into my
Small intestine.
excellent small intestine, which is awfully long, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah.
It's an experiment we're going to do in class after this video. Right now, you just be thinking about how long you think your intestines are, your small and your large together. But for right now, we're just going to talk about what the intestines do. We're going to use this nylon as the intestine. And I'm going to use this grapefruit as, well, pretend food going down the intestine. So here's the food going into the intestine. And Maggie, if you will hold that at the top and tightly at the bottom. Now, obviously it can't move down by itself. It's kind of stuck there. But your intestine is marvelous. It has muscles. And those muscles work just like hands. And they push the food down the small intestine. And as the food goes down the small intestine helps absorb such things as carbohydrates and fats and protein and vitamins, which are so necessary, and water and salt. Then, ladies and gentlemen, it goes into the large intestine. Now this is the part where we'll probably get a little messy. We're going to take our large intestine, which as you can see is just another nylon. I'm going to hold it. And Maggie is going to pour the contents of my stomach into my large intestine. Got it? So my contents of my stomach are going to go through my large intestine. Pour it on in there very slowly. Keep going.
Oh my.
Very good. Wow.
A little higher.
Okay. Stop it right there. I think that'll be about enough. Now as you can see, my large intestine is kind of getting all of those nutrients out of the food that I digested. So as I squeeze this, you can see the liquid coming out. But it's not getting everything because, of course, food contains things that my body can't use. So after my large intestine has gotten out carbohydrates, okay, which you get in breads and grains,
Yeah.
and the proteins that you find in such things as meat,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
peanuts, eggs, okay, fats that you might find in, well, a lot of fast food that you get these days,
A lot.
and vitamins, which are so necessary, but you find lots of good vitamins in green vegetables,
Oh, yes.
and in oranges, vitamin C, vitamin B, and once it gets out most of the water and most of the salt, what we've got left, ladies and gentlemen, after all that, has a very technical word. And that technical word, Maggie, is what?
Scat.
Or waste. And we all know what happens to waste, don't we?
It.
Hey, excuse me. Do you mind?
goodness, that was a harrowing experience. I hope William isn't too angry with us. But earlier, girls, Maggie used a word, scat. And maybe you could explain that word to us a little better.
It starts with an S and ends with a T. It comes out of you and it comes out of me. I know what you're thinking, but don't call it that. Let's be scientific and call it scat.
Scat. Another word for the waste that comes out of you and through your excretory system. Nicely done. We've learned something in tonight's science moment. I have to go and clean up and get ready to go to bed and get ready for another school day tomorrow. Hope you did your homework. See you soon.
Thank you for watching, boys and girls. And be sure to tune in next week for another science moment. After all that, I think I'll need some of this.